If you had told me a year ago that I would find myself standing in a bank lobby, clutching a stack of papers that claimed I owed $200,000 I never borrowed, I would have laughed. Or maybe cried, I'm not sure anymore. What I do know is that betrayal doesn't start as a sharp stab. It begins as a slow, sour pressure in the center of your chest, the kind you try to ignore until it's too late. It all began on a quiet Thursday morning in early March. The sun had barely risen, its pale light slipping through my kitchen blinds as I prepared my coffee the same way I always did. 1 scoop too much bitterness, 1 spoon of sugar too little sweetness. Routine kept me steady, especially after my husband died, and routine was what made the white envelope on my dorm feel so out of place. It wasn't a bill, it wasn't a catalog, it wasn't handwritten by a friend. It was from Brightstone Financial a place I had never even heard of. I almost tossed it into the pile of mail to look at later. But something, intuition, fate, God, or maybe the ghost of my late husband whispered that I should open it. I wish I hadn't. Inside was a thick statement, printed bold and smug in black ink. Loan amount, $200,000. Account holder, Elena Hayes, payment due, $1,850, past due ***, my vision swam. For a moment the words warped, and I thought maybe I was misreading it. Maybe they had the wrong person. But there was my name, my address, my social security number, everything. A deep chill crawled down my spine. I picked up the phone immediately and called the number on the letter. After 30 minutes of being placed on hold and transferred between departments, I finally got a human voice. Yes, ma'am, the customer service agent said, calm as a still lake. Our records indicate you applied for a personal loan on December 12th of last year. Applied? I croaked. I didn't apply for anything. There was a pause, just long enough for me to imagine the woman raising an eyebrow at my claim. Well, Mrs. Hayes, the application was submitted online from a verified email address under your name. It included all necessary documentation, including a signed contract. Signed. Contract, my name. My heartbeat quickened, thudding against my ribs like a trapped bird. I demanded to see the documents, and the agent agreed. She directed me to come to a local branch in person. I don't remember driving there. I don't even remember parking. All I remember is sitting in a glass-walled office, staring at a printed application another loan officer placed delicately before me like it was a bomb. The signature at the bottom of the contract looked like mine, the swooping E, the slanted H, the looping Y. But it wasn't. It was similar enough to fool a stranger. But I knew my own handwriting like I knew the lines of my palms. Mrs. Hayes, the loan officer said, pushing up his glasses nervously. Everything here indicates that the loan originated from your verified email address. It's consistent with identity theft cases we've seen before. Identity theft. The words felt cold and heavy. And who signed the loan? I asked quietly, though I already knew I wouldn't like the answer. He tapped the page, according to this, you did. I gripped the armrests of my chair to keep myself steady. Reality swirled around me like a whirlpool. When I finally found the strength to speak, my voice cracked. I didn't, someone else did. The loan officer gave me a sympathetic look, but what I needed wasn't sympathy. I needed truth. I needed answers. And deep in my gut, I already suspected where those answers led. Only 2 people had access to the documents in my house. Only 2 people knew my email password because I wrote it on a sticky note inside the drawer of my kitchen desk. Me and my son, Ryan. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to picture him, for any reason, signing my name on a contract worth more than everything I owned combined. But I knew. My hands shook the whole drive to his house. I wasn't angry yet. It was too early for anger. Betrayal comes in stages. First disbelief, then dread. Anger arrives last, trailing behind like a storm. When I reached Ryan's front door, the neighborhood felt too perfect. the hedges trimmed into neat squares, the driveway spotless, the porch decorated with a new set of string lights and a mat that said good vibes only. I pressed the doorbell. Ryan opened the door wearing wrinkled joggers and a worn t-shirt, his hair a mess. His eyes widened. "Mom, everything okay?" I held up the loan papers. He froze. Ryan had always been terrible at hiding guilt. Even as a child, he'd look down and fiddle with his hands when he'd broken something. The same expression, older now, more defeated, washed over him. "Mom," he whispered, I can explain." "Then explain." He swallowed hard. It wasn't supposed to show up like that. We planned to pay it off before anything became overdue. Things got complicated. What things? I snapped, my voice rising for the first time. "Ryan, you forged my signature. You stole my identity." He flinched at the word stole, but before he could answer, a voice drifted from behind him. "Is she freaking out about the loan again?" Sophia appeared in the hallway, wearing a silky robe, her hair perfectly curled even though it was just past noon. She gave me a once-over, her lips curling slightly. "Oh, you're here," she said flatly. "This was not a good time. We're trying to reset our energy for the day." My jaw dropped. "Reset your energy?" I sputtered. "You used my name to take out $200,000. Sophia waved a manicured hand dismissively. "Relax, it's not like you were using your credit anyway." I stared at her robe, her jewelry, her perfectly glossed lips. And behind her, I noticed the designer boxes stacked near the living room: Chanel, Dior, Balenciaga. A new set of luggage, a luxury stroller for a baby they didn't even have. Ryan rubbed his forehead anxiously. "Mom, please, we didn't think it would snowball. We just needed the money to stabilize things. Sophia's influencer brand is growing. We thought we'd replace the funds before you ever..." Noticed Sophia's tone turned condescending. "Honestly, Elena, you shouldn't be so dramatic. It's not that serious. Not that serious." A loan larger than my entire life savings, a forged signature, legal liability, financial ruin, but to her, not serious. In that moment, something inside me hardened, like molten metal poured into a mold, cooling into steel. I looked at Ryan, my son, the boy I raised alone, the baby I held when he was sick, the child I worked double shifts to support. He wouldn't meet my eyes. I turned without another word. Behind me, Sophia sighed loudly, as if I were the inconvenience. "See, this is the negativity I didn't want today." I walked out of their house, the door closing behind me with a finality that echoed deep in my chest. I didn't yell, I didn't cry, not yet. But as I gripped the steering wheel in their driveway, my knuckles turning white, I whispered the first promise I had made to myself in a long, long time. ***, I will fix this, and they will regret what they did. The next week passed like a blur. But unlike the numbness of Chapter 1, this time I felt everything. I felt the betrayal deep in my ribs every time I opened my purse and saw the bank letter tucked inside. I felt the humiliation creep in whenever I remembered Sophia's smirk. And most painfully, I felt the quiet, suffocating grief of realizing that the person who had taken advantage of me was the same little boy whose shoes I tied before school, whose hair I ruffled after baseball games, and whose tears I wiped away when he scraped his knees. But betrayal changes people. It changes how you walk, how you speak, how you breathe, and it changed me. On Monday morning, I met with Mr. Lawson, the lawyer recommended by a friend at church. His office smelled like old books and the faint, comforting scent of sandalwood. The shelves behind him were lined with accolades and framed newspaper articles, but what caught my attention wasn't the trophies. It was the calm authority in his voice. He reviewed the loan documents, the email logs, and eventually the photocopy of the signed contract. "This is not your handwriting," he said firmly. I nodded. "I know." He leaned back in his chair. "Mrs. Hayes, this is identity theft, And because the loan exceeds $100,000, it's classified as a felony. The word struck me like a slap. Felony against my own son, my only child. But Mrs. Hayes, he added gently, you are not the criminal here. You are the victim. Victim? I never wanted that word attached to me. I've survived too much widowhood, financial struggle, loneliness, to be labeled a victim. But facts are facts, no matter how much they burn. We need to report this, Mr. Lawson continued. If we move quickly, we can protect your credit and freeze the loan so it doesn't spiral further. I exhaled shakily, then do it. And with that, the first domino fell. ****, the quiet collapse begins *** by Wednesday. I began noticing cracks forming in Ryan and Sophia's perfectly curated Instagram lifestyle. Sophia posted fewer morning routine videos, fewer designer hauls, more vague self-care. Quotes with captions like ***, sometimes the people closest to you hurt you the most. Protect your peace. *irony. Sickening irony. Meanwhile, I noticed something else. Their house, once spotless, was a growing mess. Unopened packages piled by the door, take-out containers on the porch, less activity, fewer lights on in the evenings. I didn't contact them. I didn't answer their calls, not yet. I needed space. I needed clarity. I needed proof. And proof was everywhere. Bank statements showed Sophia's impulsive spending had gotten worse, not better. Thousands spent on limited edition designer heels, luxury spa days, hair extensions, a down payment on a trip to Paris for brand collaborations that never materialized. The irony was that for someone who branded herself as a self-made luxury lifestyle influencer, she had built her empire on lies, credit, and now my identity. But karma is patient, karma is quiet, karma is thorough. ****, the visit I shouldn't have made **** the next Saturday. I drove by their house, not to confront them, but to observe. To see for myself how far the cracks had spread. When I stepped out of my car, I heard shouting before I even reached the porch. Ryan, stop. Sophia shrieked from inside. Don't touch my bag. A door slammed. I froze, hand hovering above the doorbell. Sophia stormed into the living room, clutching a white designer handbag, tears streaking her makeup. This is for content, for work, she screamed. Your work is killing us. Ryan snapped, sounding exhausted. We're drowning, Soph. We're drowning because you kept spending like money grows out of my mom's pocket. My chest tightened. Hearing him say it, my mom's pocket stabbed me harder than the loan itself. He said it like I was a resource, a backup plan, a lifeline he could yank whenever he pleased. I stepped back, intending to leave unnoticed, but then the front door swung open. Sophia appeared, wild-eyed and furious. When she saw me, her face twisted. You, she snarled. Ryan appeared behind her, eyes widening. Mom, what are you doing here? I came to talk, I said plainly, but it appears you're already talking. Sophia laughed bitterly. If you came to lecture us, save it. We're stressed enough. I raised an eyebrow. You're stressed? She crossed her arms defensively. Yes, since someone can't handle a simple loan without having a meltdown. A simple loan you forged my name for. I reminded her sharply. She didn't even flinch. We were going to pay it back. Explain how, I said, because so far all I've seen is spending, not earning. Sophia's jaw tightened. You don't get it. Luxury is an investment in visibility. You wouldn't understand, because I'm old. I cut in gently. Because I'm not glamorous, because I don't live my life for strangers online. Her eyes narrowed exactly. There it was. The truth, unwrapped and ugly. Ryan stepped between us nervously. Mom, please, let's not fight. I turned my gaze on him. You stole from me, Ryan. You used my identity. You put my entire life at risk. He opened his mouth to respond, but Sophia beat him to it. Maybe if you were more supportive, we wouldn't have needed to do it. My breath caught. Ryan's head snapped toward her. Sophia, stop. No, she snapped. Let her hear it. She has nothing. No husband, no career anymore, no real money. We were helping her, giving her purpose, giving me purpose. For a moment I couldn't hear anything. The room faded, the air thinned, and my vision tunneled. She genuinely saw me as a stepping stone. Not a mother-in-law, not a person, just an outdated accessory to exploit and discard. I straightened my shoulders. I see, I said quietly. Thank you, both of you. I turned and walked away while their voices blended into another argument behind me. That night I didn't sleep. I didn't cry, but something inside me, something gentle, trusting, maternal, finally died. And in its place, a cold, fierce determination began to grow. Hash, 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 asterisk, asterisk. The final straw, asterisk, asterisk. On Monday, my lawyer called. Mrs. Hayes, we now have enough to formally proceed. Once the report is filed with law enforcement, there's no going back. As he spoke, I stared out my kitchen window at the rosebush I had planted with Ryan when he was 12. It was bare now, just thorns and brittle branches, a winter plant pretending to be dead, but roses bloom again, after storms, after pruning, after loss. I took a deep breath. File it, I said, and as the words left my lips, I felt something inside me lift. Not joy, not revenge, freedom. The investigation had begun. Their perfect world was about to fall apart. And they would finally understand the cost of betraying someone who once would have given them everything. There is a strange stillness that comes before a lie, faltering storm, an eerie quiet, heavy and expectant, like the world is holding its breath. That was the silence I felt the morning everything began to unravel. I woke up before dawn, the sky still a bruised shade of gray, and sat at the kitchen table with a mug of tea. The steam curled gently upward, warm against my face, but my hands trembled as I held it, not from fear, from something deeper, something colder, something final. By the time I met my lawyer at the courthouse later that morning, that trembling had settled into something steadier, resolution. Mr. Lawson placed a thick folder on the desk between us. Mrs. Hayes, he said gently, once I submit this, the state will open a full fraud investigation. Interrogations will follow, accounts will be frozen, the bank will pursue civil damages, and your son and daughter-in-law will face felony identity theft charges. I understand, I whispered, but part of me didn't. Part of me still remembered Ryan as the boy who held my hand crossing the street, the boy who surprised me with burnt toast breakfasts on Mother's Day, the boy who promised he'd always take care of me when he grew up, but the man he became, the man who forged my name for his wife's vanity, that man I did not recognize. Mr. Lawson slid the paperwork toward me. All I need is your signature. My breath caught. For a moment, my pen hovered in the air, as if the weight of 30 years of motherhood had wrapped around my wrist, pleading with me to reconsider. And then I remembered Sophia's voice ringing in my ears, asterisk, you should be thanking us for making you feel useful, asterisk, the pen touched paper. I signed, and the hammer fell. Hash hash asterisk asterisk, the first blow asterisk asterisk by Wednesday. The bank began their internal investigation. On Thursday, their accounts were frozen. By Friday morning, their luxury SUV, leased under Sophia's brand, was repossessed right out of their driveway. Tow truck's hydraulic lift screeched loudly enough for the whole street to hear. Neighbors peeked through blinds. A few even stepped outside to watch. Sophia stormed onto the lawn barefoot, screaming at the tow operator. You can't take it. Do you know who I am? I have rights. This is harassment. The man barely looked at her. Miss, the payments haven't been made in months. The account is frozen. Contact your lender. My asterisk husband asterisk will fix this, she barked. But Ryan didn't come outside. He stood behind the blinds, face pale, rubbing his temples like he was trying to hold his skull together. I was parked a block away in my car, hidden behind an oak tree, watching through tears, I didn't want to shed. I wasn't there to gloat. I wasn't there for revenge. I was there because I needed to see for my own heart that consequences had finally found them. And they had. ****. The investigation begins ***. 2 days later. The police knocked on their door. Their arrival wasn't dramatic like in the movies. No flashing lights, no shouting. Just 2 officers and a detective in plain clothes, calm and businesslike. But Sophia made it dramatic. She opened the door wearing a robe and smeared mascara. "What do you want now?" "Ma'am, we need to speak with you and your husband about an ongoing fraud investigation." Her face drained of color. "Fraud? We haven't committed fraud." The detective lifted the file. "We have evidence of identity theft, forged signatures, falsified loan applications, and unauthorized access to Mrs. Elena Hayes' financial information." Sophia's expression flickered, not with confusion, but with fear. She knew exactly what this was about. Ryan stumbled to the door behind her. Is my mom pressing charges?" The detective didn't answer. He didn't have to. After a few questions, the officers asked them to accompany them for further statements. Not arrests, not yet, but the tension was unmistakable. Sophia looked like she would faint. Ryan looked like he already had. As they were led to the unmarked car, I stayed where I was 2 blocks away, heart pounding, hands shaking. I wasn't there to punish them. I was there because I needed to know that the system believed me. For so long, I'd asked myself, am I overreacting? Is this too harsh? Should I protect him because he's my son? But watching those officers escort the 2 of them to face the consequences they had earned, I finally felt validated. I hadn't ruined his life. He had. ##*, the breaking point, ***. 2 days later, Ryan came to my house. I heard him knocking long before I opened the door. When I finally did, I barely recognized him. His eyes were bloodshot, his clothes wrinkled, and his shoulders sagged under the weight of a shame I could almost feel radiating off him. "Mom," he whispered, voice cracking, "please, please talk to me." I said nothing. He stood on my porch trembling. They say I might get charged. They say Sophia might get more because she sent the emails. Mom, I'm scared. I messed up. I know I messed up. Just please, please help me. Tears blurred his eyes, but you cannot comfort someone who shows you no respect until the world finally forces humility upon them. Still, I let him in. He sat on my couch, elbows on knees, hands covering his face. "I never meant to hurt you. I thought we could fix it. I thought the business would bounce back. I thought Sophia would get a sponsor deal. I thought everything would work out before you ever found out, Ryan." I said quietly, "You did not borrow money. You stole my identity." He winced. "I know." "You forged my signature." "I know." "You risked my credit, my retirement, my home, my stability." "I know," he shouted, voice breaking. Silence filled the room. He looked up, tears rolling down his cheeks. "Mom, I'm begging you. Please retract the complaint." My heart squeezed painfully. For a moment I imagined saying yes. I imagined hugging him, telling him it would all be okay, protecting him like I always had. But then I remembered the fear that gripped me when I opened that lone letter, the humiliation when Sophia called me dramatic, the betrayal of knowing I had been used like a bank machine. I shook my head. Slowly, "I can't." His face crumpled. "Why, I'm your son." "Exactly," I said softly. "You are my son. And that is why this hurts so much." "But Ryan, you stole my trust long before you stole my name." He sobbed into his hands. I didn't touch him. I didn't comfort him, because some lessons are learned only when the world finally stops. Cushioning the fall, he left my house that night a broken man, and I closed the door behind him, leaning against it as my chest swelled with grief so thick I could barely breathe. ##*, the public collapse, ***, in the days that followed. Everything spiraled for them. Sophia posted frantic Instagram stories accusing fake people of sabotaging her career. But brands don't partner with liabilities, especially ones being investigated for felony fraud. So, one by one, they dropped her. Her followers turned on her. Her comments filled with questions she couldn't ignore. Screenshots circulated. The internet smelled blood. Ryan's business, what was left of it, collapsed entirely. Banks refused to work with him. Investors backed out. Customers asked for refunds. His partner quit. Their perfect world crumbled publicly, brutally, mercilessly, and I watched from the quiet safety of my modest kitchen, not gleefully, not vengefully, but with the heartbreaking acceptance that sometimes the only way to save yourself is to let someone else fall. #****, the legal blow ****. 2 weeks later, my lawyer called, Mrs. Hayes, he said solemnly, the charges are moving forward. They will likely both face probation and restitution. Sophia may face additional penalties. I nodded slowly. It was done. The wheels of justice were turning. There was no going back. My son's world had fallen apart. My daughter-in-law's facade had shattered, and though they regretted everything now, it was too late. The hammer had fallen, and I wasn't lifting it back up. The day the court finalized the charges, the sky was oddly beautiful, painted with gentle streaks of peach and lavender, the kind of sunrise that almost makes you believe the world is kind again. I stood outside the courthouse steps feeling neither triumphant nor vindicated, just steady, a steadiness I hadn't felt in years. Inside the courtroom, the hearing had been short. Ryan and Sophia both accepted plea deals. The evidence was too overwhelming to fight, too clear to twist. Sophia faced harsher consequences for being the primary initiator and document submitter. Ryan received probation, mandatory financial counseling, and restitution requirements. Sophia faced community service, fines, and a long list of conditions that, if not met, would turn into real jail time. When the judge asked if I had anything to say, I simply said, I wish healing for everyone involved. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't anger. It was truth. Because healing was the only path forward now, no matter how jagged. Once the proceedings ended, I walked outside without looking back. Some things don't need dramatic final glances. Some endings happen quietly, like a curtain lowering in an empty theater. ##*, the separation ***, 3 months later. Their marriage fell apart. I can't say I was surprised. The foundation they had built their lives on, deceit, ego, desperation, was rotten long before I ever filed a report. From what I eventually pieced together, their fights grew more vicious by the day. The glamour that Sophia once wrapped herself in had evaporated, leaving nothing but bare, unvarnished resentment. Sophia blamed Ryan for being too weak to handle the fallout. Ryan blamed Sophia for ruining everything, with her need for luxury and validation. Their home, once filled with staged photos, fake smiles, and curated perfection, became a battleground. The day Sophia left, she didn't slam the door. She walked out quietly, suitcase in hand, without looking back. She moved 2 states over to live with an aunt, working part-time in a boutique that certainly held fewer designer handbags than the ones she'd once flaunted online. Their house, too big, too expensive, and now under scrutiny, was eventually surrendered. Ryan moved into an apartment so bare it echoed when you walked inside. Their world was unrecognizable, and I was finally rebuilding mine. ##*, the new beginning ****. That summer, I sold my old house. It wasn't that the place held bad memories, quite the opposite. It was filled with love, laughter, and decades of trying my best. But it was a home built for a different version of me, the wife, the young mother, the woman who believed she had to sacrifice herself endlessly for others. I wasn't that woman anymore, so I bought a small cottage on the outskirts of town. Nothing fancy, just enough space for me, a porch swing, and a little garden. The first thing I did after moving in was plant lavender along the walkway and 2 new rose bushes. One white, one deep red. Roots, new life, new peace. I took pottery classes on Wednesday nights, learned how to make sourdough from an elderly neighbor, and started walking every morning at sunrise. I slept better. I breathed easier. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for the next problem to land on my doorstep. I wasn't living for anyone but myself. Hash hash asterisk asterisk. The visit asterisk asterisk. It happened on a chilly October afternoon. Leaves littered my porch, swirling in delicate patterns as the wind pushed them around. I was sitting outside with a book when I heard footsteps approaching. When I looked up, Ryan stood at the base of the steps. He looked older. Not in age, he was only 32. But in his eyes, they had lost that shine of invincibility, replaced by something softer, more worn. Humility, I realized. "Mom," he said quietly. I nodded, closing my book. "Ryan." He hesitated, as if unsure he had the right to step closer. Can I talk to you?" "Of course." He slowly climbed the steps and sat beside me, leaving a respectful space between us. That alone told me how much had changed. For a long moment we sat in silence, watching the trees sway. Then, with a shaky exhale, he began, "I'm sorry, Mom." 3 words, but they carried the weight of every sleepless night, every regret, every moment of self-realization he had been forced to confront. "I know you hear people say they're sorry all the time," he continued, "but I've never meant anything more in my life. I was stupid, weak. I let someone manipulate me. I let myself believe money and image mattered more than integrity, more than you. And you didn't deserve any of it." His voice cracked, and he looked down at his hands. "I don't expect forgiveness," he said. "I don't even expect a relationship. I just needed to say it. Because it's the truth." Tears warmed my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. "You hurt me deeply, Ryan," I said softly. "What you did broke something in me I'll never fully get back." He swallowed hard. "I know, but," I continued, "I'm glad you're finally seeing things clearly. I'm glad you're trying to be better. And I do forgive you." He looked up sharply, eyes full, hopeful, wounded. "But forgiving you doesn't mean things go back to how they were." I added gently, "Trust isn't a light switch. It's something you rebuild slowly." He nodded quickly. "I understand. Whatever pace you want. Whatever boundaries you need." And for the first time in a long time, I believed him. We talked for an hour. About his new job, his therapy, his slow process of untangling himself from the person he became with Sophia. He didn't once ask me to fix anything for him. When he finally stood to leave, he glanced at the roses near the steps. "You replanted them," he said softly. "Yes," I replied. "New beginnings?" He smiled faintly. "I'd like to earn a spot in your new beginnings someday." "Maybe you will," I said with a small smile. "One day at a time." He nodded, tears in his eyes again, and walked down the path. My heart ached, but not from betrayal this time, from healing. Hash hash asterisk asterisk, the quiet victory asterisk asterisk that night. I sat on my porch beneath the soft glow of the lantern, listening to the rustle of leaves and the gentle chirp of crickets. I wasn't celebrating their downfall. I wasn't celebrating their regret. I was celebrating my peace, my strength, my choice to stand up for myself. After a lifetime of bending, people often mistake quiet for weakness. They assume silence means acceptance, but silence can also be a weapon, a shield, a boundary, and through this long, winding journey of betrayal and consequences, I discovered something about myself. I am not fragile. I am not naive. I am not helpless. I am a woman who survived heartbreak, deceit, and losing the person she thought she knew best. I am someone who rebuilt her life not out of spite, but out of self-love. Ryan regrets what he did. Sophia regrets what she lost. But me, I regret nothing, because it was too late to undo what they did to me, but it was asterisk, never asterisk, too late to reclaim my own life. And that quietly, gently, beautifully, is my victory.